Hey Move students, I'm Sabrina. I'm one of your leaders and I'm on the worship team. And today I get to do the Daily Devo on Romans 4. Robbie did an awesome job yesterday talking about chapter 3, going through how our pride is what separates us, it divides us, but mercy and humility is what unites us. God calls us to come together and love one another, but we can't do that if we're being boastful, if we're judging each other. So I hope you've been thinking about those questions, because we're going to use that info and we're going right into chapter 4, where God's talking about righteousness by faith. And you're probably asking, what does that mean? Well, he kind of jumps back. He goes back to the Old Testament, back to the beginning in Genesis, and he reviews Abraham's life, and he talks about how Abraham, he did the works, he did the good, all the good stuff, the law. That's why the Jews loved him, but that's not why he found favor in God's eyes. He found favor because of his faith, the boldness of his faith. And so verse 2 in chapter 4 of Romans, it says that Abraham was justified by his works, but he had something to boast about, but not before God. So yes, to the Jews, he followed the law and he had something to boast about. He did the work, but God doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about your work. You can't earn your salvation, which is something I feel like we all try to do, right? Personally, I feel guilty and I'm like, I don't deserve this kind of love. The fact that God died on the cross for us is an enormous gesture of love that you cannot repay and you cannot earn. It's something that's really beautiful, but we kind of get wrapped up in the sense of religion, right? So the Jews followed the law, but we follow easily religion, all the rules, all the things of going to church every Sunday, serving. Those who serve on Sundays serve on Wednesdays. We don't serve because we want to earn righteousness, to earn favor. We do those things because we're following God, we're following our faith because we love him and we want to show others people that kind of beautiful love and sacrifice that Jesus has shown us. Okay, so in verse 3 and verse 5, it talks about how faith is credited as righteousness. In 3, it says, Abraham believed God and it was credited to him as righteousness. So when I think of the credited, you can think of like a bank account credit. And you can imagine you're going to go look at your bank account and you're thinking you're going to have this massive debt that you're going to have to pay. But when you look at it, it's been wiped clean, it's gone, and you're good. You don't need to pay your debt anymore. And that's kind of the same thing as Jesus paying our debt, paying that price on the cross for our sin. So we don't have to work away our debt. We don't have to work to make the money to get rid of the debt. We don't have to do that because the debt has already been paid. Jesus already did that sacrifice. So all we need to do now is follow in faith. Faith is what connects us to Christ, and Christ himself is our righteousness. Okay, going down to verse 10, we're going to start talking about circumcision. And so back then, the Jews thought that by getting circumcised, one, it separated them from the Gentiles. It set them apart as God's people in their eyes. And they started to believe and associate that physical act as a token, like a key to gaining righteousness, to gaining favor in God's eyes. And Paul here addresses that that's not the case, that it is only by your faith that you can gain this favor, gain this righteousness. So he goes back and he talks about Abraham's faith. And he says, was it before he was circumcised or after he was circumcised that he was credited righteousness? In verse 10, it says, it was not after, but before. So it was because of his bold faith that he was credited this. In the same way that we get baptized, we don't get baptized to go to heaven, to gain salvation. We get baptized to celebrate our salvation, to show others that we have now committed our hearts, committed our lives to Jesus. It's an act to show it, but it's not an act that gains it. So now we know it's faith apart from our works, apart from the law, apart from circumcision, that gains us righteousness, gains God's righteousness. Now I have a few questions for you guys. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by following the rules or following religion in your walk with Christ? I just want you to think about your relationship with God, and is it based on the works that you do? Is it based on your actions? Or is it based on your faith and the boldness of your faith? And then one last question is, how can you pursue righteousness by faith? And what does that look like in your life? So kind of just really think about your walk with God, your relationship with Him, and how you can pursue righteousness by that. So cool. All right. That's it, guys. Awesome. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions about these daily devos and what we say in here, please just shoot us a direct message and we'll try our best to answer those questions. And if you have any prayer requests, please also send that and I will pray for you personally. I love you guys and we're all here for you. And I hope you're enjoying quarantine. Okay, bye.